Hello everyone and welcome back to the ever busy Riverview metropolitan area. In the most recent episode we implemented the biggest transit line yet to Riverview by implementing a new massive bus line, and if we take a look here, we see that the RTA7 line, which is the newest one, is almost at 100% usage and has almost twice as many passengers as the next busiest line. So I think it's safe to say that we can already now adjust the vehicle count ever so slightly. Let's just get 5 more buses out there doing some work. But the most important thing we managed to accomplish in the previous episode was fixing our zoning issue. We'd been plagued by pretty much no demand for anything and a ton of homelessness. And it turns out it was caused by some small bugs in a couple of mods, which we have now disabled. So we have successfully crossed 100,000 people and we have very healthy demand. So today my plan is to do some general fixes around the city. We've still got quite a few traffic issues, as you can even see here, during, I guess this is morning rush hour. We're also going to try and build some new stuff, satisfy some of this demand, and then maybe we can squeeze in the massive coal power plant up here with some certified clean coal production, but we'll see if we get that far. Now, 2 quick things before we continue. The first one is a completely non-invasive reminder to like this video if you enjoy my content, as that really helps out. And the second one is that if the quality is a little lower, it's because I'm forced to use a lower resolution, as I'm actually not recording this at home. So I don't have my own setup going here, I'm using a different set of screens. Alright, so let's kick off with some attempts at traffic fixing. I always say attempts, it's a disclaimer to try and cover my own deficiencies when it comes to traffic management. But if we just pause here, we've definitely got a bit of a hairy situation here. So this area has always been busy, but it seems that now that the population has rebounded pretty intensively due to the fixes we did in the last episode, this has become absolutely terrible. So what we're seeing here is basically a ton of traffic alongside this national road that is looking to leave the city through this eastern gateway across the mountains where the Riverview Expressway leads, as well as traffic that is actually coming from the southern portion of the city and is attempting to, well, in this case, turn left and enter some of these dense areas, but some of it will also attempt to turn right and leave through the same eastern gateway. So yeah, I guess one major issue here is that the more like grade level crossings we have, the bigger the hiccup we're seeing. So this one here is obviously gonna have to go, but there's also a bit of a situation here where we've got a pretty substantial amount of traffic here alongside Birch Lane, and one of the reasons, of course, is that the Riverview incineration plant, if we scroll down here, it has more than, it has 50 vehicles in use. So there's actually a lot of traffic back and forth here with all the garbage trucks, and there's also quite a bit of passenger traffic because there are also quite a few workplaces here. So the actual incineration plant only employs around 60 people, but we've got a bit of industry next to it as well. So it is seeing some use, and I think we're just gonna have to completely revamp this. So I'm thinking some type of custom roundabout setup here might just work out. We're gonna try at least, and yeah, we're gonna build a bit, we're gonna let the simulation run, assess how the traffic behaves, and then we'll do changes based on that. Once again, this is something I have to do because I'm not all that great at this, so I'm gonna have to probably iterate on this a couple of times. But let's just try and create this custom roundabout, because that's always a lot of fun. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab the 2-lane one-way highway, and then I'll need to get a stretch like this in place. Something like this, maybe go all the way down here. Something like this. Then we're gonna disable parallel mode, enable some snapping, and grab the continuous tool so that I can create a proper curvature here, 90 degrees, that looks about right. And we'll do the very same over here. Can I get 90 degrees exactly? There we go. And then I'll need to connect these roads in a logical fashion. So I think a good connection to start with is this highway stretch here, because it is actually one of the main culprits of this issue. It's feeding in a lot of traffic to this crossing here. And I think the first thing we might just do is actually widen the actual bridge segment here. We could widen all the way down here and remove these trees. That's really gonna sell these houses. Okay, we might just start here maybe, so that we don't disrupt property prices too much. Gotta keep that economy going. And then we are gonna split this, grab our 2-lane segment here and bring that into the roundabout. Let's see if we can get 180 degrees. And that's probably a little too sharp actually. We are gonna try that again. We're gonna grab 180 degrees and then try to very seamlessly connect that up. And then of course we'll need to create the connection here as well. I'm just gonna remove Birch Lane because we're gonna have to pretty much redraw this pretty substantially. But let's just use the complex curve tool, branch out from here so that we can connect it properly up to this road here. So where's 180? It's there, and we'll just make a segment like this for starters. Then we'll do the very same thing in the opposite direction. And we're not seeing all that much traffic here, so we're probably just gonna go for a one lane configuration and then find this spot here so that we can make proper connections. And then if we upgrade this like this, so there's a bit of asymmetrical setup here, maybe even upgrade this to a 4-laner to accommodate a bit of extra traffic going, what is this? This is east, and that might work out. And I think I'm just gonna enable snapping and then try to see if I can manually connect these. We're gonna enable Anarchy. I'll just create this segment here and then we can probably manually branch these in a little better. Yeah, should have done that from the start, but oh well. Now we got this segment in place at least. That should make it all a little easier. We're gonna find this spot here. We'll go for 180 degrees. Then we'll find a suitable spot down here and then connect that up. It snaps right into place. And we'll do the very same thing here. Let's see if we can get 180 degrees without causing clipping issues. And then I'll enable snapping so we can find the right location here. And there we go. That looks sort of alright, I guess. And it of course enables easy access here. If we want to make this more complex but also be able to handle this situation even better, then I guess we could actually have a dedicated lane branch out from right here where the bridge kind of touches down and bring that up. So that, oh yeah, that might cause some issues. Maybe I should actually just get this 1-laner connected up to this bridge segment here before I do anything else. Otherwise I'm just gonna mess it up in the name of complexity. And I do intend to mess it up in the name of complexity, just not yet. The basics have to work first. But I think this looks pretty good so far. Now I think we can grab the setup we have here and replicate that over here without mirroring it, because we can also see that the amount of traffic working east here alongside this stretch of road is far greater than the amount of traffic working its way west and trying to enter the downtown of New Chelsea. So we are just gonna grab this segment and I think for starters just bring that a bit closer. A completely straight line at around 180 degrees should probably be fine. We'll just bring that up here and then we can split it and branch out. Although for starters we'll... Why can't I upgrade? There we go. For starters we'll do the same upgrade here. Get that into a 2-lane and 1-lane asymmetrical configuration. Then grab the complex curve tool, disable these two snapping tools so I don't mess it up. This is something I needed help from you guys as well. I was having weird elevations in even the most basic roads because I didn't disable these two. And that is actually not perfect. that's going to annoy me later. So let's just make sure it is perfect. And then I think we're just going to bring this road up in a straight configuration as well. Just gonna disable snapping and maybe just bring that a bit closer, not by a lot, because we're probably gonna have some dedicated slip lanes here. Let's see if we can actually get this to work. Yeah, definitely gonna be some trial and error. I think I'm going to try. We'll go for the complex curve and disable these two. And then I'll attempt to bring this in here and probably a dedicated slip lane down to this stretch here. I have to redraw that. Whoops. Something like this. And then a dedicated, oh, like this. Oh, it would be cool if we could get the yield signs here that we're seeing. I'm gonna disable snapping and see if I can I make this just a bit prettier. It's not really looking all that great. I'll just try this, and then if we might be able to downgrade this to yeah, never mind. Oh, this looks super weird. That is just not gonna work. No. And now this is kind of messed up. Oh boy. Anyway, something we can do while I look the other way at that failure is maybe have a dedicated road here as well. If I can just stretch it, and that looks pretty good. So I still need to enable for these guys to enter in, to actually just enter the roundabout and get on in the eastern direction. So maybe something like this, for starters at least, just to assess if that is actually going to work or if it's going to get overloaded. And we're gonna need plenty of custom traffic rules here. We're not gonna allow a left turn here. And let's see, over here we might need the dedicated lane here as well, which is fine. Actually, let's just try and create that. So maybe we need just a short segment where we've got, actually let's just try and create this first. I'll just connect here, no snapping on, and hopefully, yeah, I can't do that without messing up over here, so that's not gonna work. But I can do it down here, it seems. So we're gonna try that and bring that in like that. Then we'll disable the right turn from this segment here and see how that actually works. Might have to downgrade this to a one-laner, but I'm thinking there's gonna be a lot of traffic here, and it seems, judging by all these cargo trucks here, that the greatest demand is to actually turn left here and go into the city. Let's hit play and see this magnificent creation in action. It's even worse than before. Oh, is that possible? Oh, well, I guess for starters, there's just too many weird merges here causing some traffic hiccups, and there's actually a substantial amount of traffic going eastwards that is actually attempting to just get on to this Robin Highway or whatever it's called to travel north. So that is a bit of an issue. So I think for starters, we're gonna need some dedicated lanes throughout, because I mean, it's probably a little better than before, actually. I mean, much of this has been cleared out, at least this as well. But yeah, this hasn't changed much, and this is still really a mess here. So I think for starters, I can start upgrading some of these segments to allow for more, to allow for dual lanes here. That's a start at least, because that's going to allow me to feed much more traffic into this. It's not a roundabout. This abomination has some sort of name, but I don't know what it is. And then I'm gonna need a bit more space. I'm going to need to merge these two crossings together, for starters, because this is not gonna work. And then I'll need to remove this lane here, because I'm gonna have to bring that much closer to this segment here, so that we actually have a stretch here where people can realistically actually merge for the directions they're going. So I'm gonna remove this as well, and then we are going to just have to recreate the regular curved road we had here just a second ago. So I'm gonna disable snapping, 180 degrees like this, enable continuous, enable snapping, go out by 1, and then 90 degrees. And then I'll need to connect this lane directly to this to just, you know, disable having too many weird crossings. And let's just see if we can enable the complex curve, go out a bit, and oh, I have to disable this stuff again. See if I can connect in here, make it look all right. Come on. That's pretty good, right? Yeah, it's okay. And then we need this lane here to actually connect directly to this one. Let's try and get rid of this one. That's just causing me annoyance right now. That's gonna work. Disable the right turn, yes. Okay, so far so good. We are gonna upgrade this to a 3-lane segment, I think. We're gonna upgrade this to a 2-lane segment. We're gonna need to redo this, I think, or at least for starters, we can actually just upgrade so that it's a much more substantial road. And that messed something up. Why did that mess something? Okay, we can, oh yeah, sorry. As expected, we'll add in another node. Wherever we want the extra lane to detach, we will just add it here. Downgrade this to a 2-lane segment once more. Delete this and then get that extra slip road in place. See if I can get 175, sorry, is probably fine. And we are gonna disable left turns from this one, obviously. And this is looking super weird because we've got a dedicated right turn for a tiny gravel road with one farm. Yeah, it's an important farm, but maybe just doing this is going to work a little better. Because it does seem like the traffic in this direction is actually kind of evening out, but we'll see. And here, I don't think I'm going to allow left turn from the... Can I disallow it from the inner lane here? I can't. Okay, so we're just gonna have to be like this. The upgrades I made down here, I'm gonna make up here as well, get some extra lanes in place. Gonna go for a 4-laner even. I don't think there's that much traffic, but 3 lanes is probably gonna be fine. And then just like down here, we're going to add in an extra node. Upgrade this to a 3-laner, remove the node so that we can branch off here and make this connection. But obviously, we're gonna have to redraw this one to connect to these 2 lanes out of these 3 lanes. Hopefully that's gonna create fewer merge conflicts. And 177 is probably fine. Then enable some snapping. And create this connection here. That looks a little better. And then we'll just create this connection here. So I think if anything, I hope this can reassure you guys that 4,000 hours in City Skylines 1 and 600 something hours in City Skylines 2 doesn't make you a traffic expert. It doesn't make me a traffic expert, at least. So let my failure be a testament to something's going well and some not going that well. We're gonna try that again. Speaking of which, disable some snapping here. Right, something like this, and then hopefully I can connect here seamlessly. That looks all right. There's a bit of a terrain difference here. I can cover that up with a few bushes and whatnot. But I'm hopeful this is gonna help a bit because there's at least this dedicated lane here, and there's some dedicated lanes here as well. There is still a, you know, lane math issue here, which isn't all that great. Let's just see if it makes sense to upgrade this to a 4-lane segment. Just think that looks really weird and bulky, so we're going to do some crime here and not completely adhere to the lane math and just let the simulation run for a bit more and see if this evens out. Oi. Okay, don't worry. I have a plan. It's the best plan. It's the greatest plan ever. It's better than Biden's plan. So follow my plan. It will work even in court. First off, we're gonna get rid of this crossing here for this little gravel lane. That's just unnecessary. I'm unnecessarily making this harder for me than it has to be. I'm telling myself that, at least. I'm gonna pause before the city has a meltdown. Removing this should enable us to upgrade this to a 4-lane segment like that, and should allow us to upgrade this to a 2-lane segment. At least we have seen a lot of traffic here, so I'm hopeful that's gonna be a good decision. We can bump this up to a 4-lane segment to follow proper lane math over here. Oh yeah, things are moving fast now, guys. This is great. The best plan ever. The best plan ever. We are gonna make our little bendy boy here connect up seamlessly. Beautiful. Lots of space here for crossing. If you're in the left lane here, you just have 2 lanes to cross on like a 50-meter stretch. That's not dangerous at all. That is perfectly fine. Do we need to adhere to proper main lane math? Well, up here as well, we do. So we are going to upgrade this. We'll probably have to redraw this. We'll probably have to redraw these. So let's get the 2-laners in place first. Complex curve. Can you feel my confidence? I am very confident this is going to work fantastically. It's gonna be my last attempt, and I'm gonna give up. Send you guys some pictures and hope you guys can save me. But I'm confident thus far, and then we'll need to create. I'm just gonna create an additional segment here. Flip the direction, yoink, and then we can connect these up. Hopefully, make that look a little better, so we can branch out from here. Let's find the outermost lane at 180 or as close to as possible. Make that connection, and then we'll need the complex curve tool once more. Branch out up here. That connects. Oh, look at this, it broke it again. We're gonna try a complex curve without any snapping, living dangerously here, and I need to squeeze it in like this. And I really want to be able to disable right turns, and I can. Oh, it worked. This is perfect, right? Doesn't get any better than this. There's still some lane math here we are not adhering to, but there's so many cars here that actually needs to go in this direction. So I'm wondering if I can actually just downgrade this to a 1-laner. So that we do adhere lane math here, and then just see how that works. Just gonna make a I'm gonna redraw these is probably what's gonna be the best solution here. Like this, enable snapping, branch off around here, and quickly turn into this lane. And then I don't even remember where I branched out here. Was it somewhere alongside? Yoink. Sweet. I'm going to hit play, and this is just gonna work. And it works. I mean, it works wonderfully. Look how never mind. We're gonna situate the camera here. It works. Actually, this is getting out of hand. If we situate the camera here, it kind of works. Okay, I think this is gonna be my best attempt for the episode. So if you're a real traffic nerd out there, and you guys know when I say nerd, it's in the most positive way, because I love nerds and I'm a massive nerd myself. But if you are a real traffic nerd, you can take a screenshot of what you're seeing on the screen right now and draw over it in Paint or Photoshop, whatever you want. Send me the suggestion on my YouTube email. You can grab that from the YouTube channel if you want to, and maybe we'll do a revamp of this, implement one of your guys' suggestions instead. I only have 2 rules. No sunken elements or tunnels to bypass lanes, and no elevated segments. So you're gonna have to make everything at grade crossings or roundabouts or whatever you figure out, because the Riverview doesn't have money for more, at least not in this particular spot. So I'm looking forward to any suggestions if you guys wanna create something up. Alright, so to just wrap up this little project we had going here, I'm just gonna do a bit of lane expansion here and call it a day. Don't want to spend too much time out here. We got new exciting stuff to build during this episode as well, even though it is always fun to work with the traffic. So let's just do a couple of upgrades here and see if that is gonna be sufficient for our needs. This isn't like an area that is frequently super busy, so I'm hopeful just doing a bit of upgrades is fine, and this is going to resolve itself. Of course, we also need to actually connect Washington Lane here, at least make one additional connection to the network here. We've got this one connecting to the roundabout, and we used to have a connection here. Obviously, that's going to be a little more tricky this time around, because we've got, you know, great separation here from all these new at grade crossings. So I think I'm just gonna see if I can create a very simple connection to this stretch here before it branches out into multiple lanes. So we'll do something like that, and we might even, given the connection we have over here, no wait, yeah, that's right. This is actually a very important connection for the garbage trucks, otherwise they would have to take quite a detour to enter the majority of the areas they have to service. But I think this is fine. This is probably going to work. This should clear out, and then hopefully this will be able to handle some actual rush hour traffic. Because I'm assuming part of the reason we're seeing so little traffic is that there's just less people on the road as well. And it seems that the traffic has really cleared up very nicely here, which is great. It's probably more to do with the time, once again, than actual traffic fixes. But if you're not a road network type of guy or just person, then you'll be happy to know we'll jump into some actual developments now. So let's see, it's been a while since I've done some densification, although we did do north side recently, but I think we're gonna look towards East Riverview. We've got this segment of the city here, which is really rather low density, but we've got some very high density public housing as well as student housing really close by. And I have been considering making this an actual row house neighborhood, its own cute little neighborhood, ever since we created an additional tram depot over here and extended the kind of the row, what's it called? Row house density, sorry, down to this segment of East Riverview. So I would like to just upgrade the density here so that it gets a lot more dense, and kind of feed in more people into Sterling and Barlow Ridge respectively. So Sterling is this primarily, I wanted to say industrial, but it's been undergoing a change recently. So much of the southern part here is industrial, quite dirty industry as well. But this part here is mainly high-tech offices, and we've got like a commercial shopping center here as well, where you can, you know, buy fancy TVs and stuff. But it's lacking people, basically. There's almost 1,200 open positions, so I'm thinking that upping the density here is going to allow for a very easy commute, at least, if you end up working in Sterling. Barlow Ridge is also primarily industrial, and let's see, we've got almost 2,000 open positions here. So I am going to revamp this area here, and then I'm also considering making actual districts out here in East Riverview, because right now I wanted to kind of designate it as sort of a separate city to Riverview, but not quite. So I just made like a massive district so I could kind of track how many people actually live on this side of the river. But it is also losing a bit of character by doing this. I want to instead designate downtown East Riverview and then create actual districts with like actual, you know, neighborhood names. It's gonna give it a lot more character. And I mean, we can still we can logically figure out that this district is part of East Riverview because it's closer to downtown East Riverview than Riverview. And I'm thinking we're gonna do the same here in New Chelsea, because I kind of went by the same logic. But it's getting weird. This is downtown New Chelsea, and all of this should be separate districts. It's gonna be a lot more fun. But we're gonna wait with that. We should start developing some stuff first. So when I built this area, East Riverview did not have the scale it has now at all. And I think if we're gonna continue densifying Summit Street, which if we zoom in and take a good look, it's already, you know, it really has the characteristics of the main street of a major city. Then it makes sense to make this area a whole lot denser, so that the actual transition from medium density and row house density is more so marked by the I-25 interstate, so that we kind of have to move underneath the interstate here to actually see this drop in density. And it's kind of the same thing we did here when we created this sunken stretch of the I-25. The row house density continues for a little stretch across the highway, and then it pretty quickly drops to single family housing. But I guess we're gonna need to do a little demolition derby here before we actually do this, because I kind of want to make a full reset, remove the road layout here. It's old, it's a long time. It's been a long time since I built all this stuff, so I think we're just gonna start from scratch. The road layout we put down might look very similar to this initial one that I'm deleting now. But yeah, I just kind of want to start from scratch and just get this removed. We'll remove these paths as well. I'll be creating like a park at the very heart of this new district. But for now, I think we're just going to remove these paths so we kind of have a clean slate to work with. I also think the power line here is probably not necessary, so I'm just going to remove that. Let's see if we can toggle. Oh, that's not the right one. We can toggle underground and remove this one. I'm assuming that's going to be fine. Otherwise, we're going to have to fix the bottleneck, of course. But this leaves us with a very large open space. We've got more stuff here, but I'm actually just going to keep this for now and just develop this, this square here. I think we're gonna extend the tram line as well to cover a greater segment of this, and then go underneath the highway here, and maybe have a stop serving Sterling. That would be pretty nice. It might be a bit too ambitious for this episode, but I'm just gonna remove what we've got here at least, so that we can have the tram lines run with their own dedicated tracks and then just run parallel to this highway, which we are going to not have as a highway anymore, because I want to have some commercial establishments along it. I'll just upgrade it or downgrade it to a 2-lane road, however you see it. And then I think for starters, we're just gonna bring a road through here, just to kind of have a main outline. Now we've got a grid we can use for the tram here. So we're at least just going to extend it for this neighborhood here, and then maybe in a future episode we're gonna dedicate that to a much greater tram extension that might serve Sterling and potentially other parts of the city. But for now, I am just going to, let's see how much sort of commercial stuff will be 5 tiles deep zoning wise, which means I'll be having the tram segment here, and then we're going to add a one-way segment here so that we can create a proper stop, something like this. I'm just gonna get this connected. We might just delete this and use our ferret complex curve tool, so 180 down to about here. and what I'm looking for is like a really smooth curve here, a smooth transition, because sometimes it can be a bit harsh when you create these intersections here. I'm just gonna upgrade this. Oh yeah, manually upgrade it, and then we'll fix that in just a second. I think we'll be doing this, and then what I would like to see is just a single alley road here, crossing this in a perfect grid. That didn't work. Thank you, City Skylines 2. So here's a drinking game. Each time this fails, you take a shot. Yeah, okay. Everyone is drunk now. I guess this will have to do, boy. And we're just gonna bring this straight through, connect up to the even this zone didn't align. Oh man, my track record is just great. I mean, what? How did that? Okay, so if we're doing this segment here, everything is fine. Then we're gonna add the final one, and we get this oddity. Ugh, that is such awkward behavior. I really dislike that. Oh boy. Anyways, I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna have like a small segment with an open plaza here. So we have row houses on one side of this small alley here on this side, and then we'll have like an open plaza here where we'll do a bit of detailing as well. And we're just gonna bring this through here. And then we'll have a couple of rows of row houses, and then we'll have sort of a small dedicated park here as well. So we'll have a small plaza segment here with a tram stop, also allowing for easy pedestrian access to the small commercial shopping part we'll have here. So hopefully having these small things outlined is going to just about add like the amount of uniqueness to this area that we want to see, because yeah, I mean, we still don't have custom assets, so you know, row house districts can quickly start kind of looking the same if we're not slightly creative with them. I'm also going to do a row house district in Riverview that has exclusively curved non-grid roads, because I've been experimenting a bit with that. It doesn't look perfect, but I think with some clever Anarchy and tree use, it actually turns out all right. Anyways, we've got this mapped out now, so I'm going to move into my advanced road tools, and I'm gonna upgrade this with a key segment and then remove it, because that's gonna make the zoning align to these lanes, which is exactly what I want. And we'll do that down here alongside Umber Lane as well, like this. In this case here, we want the row houses to be oh wait, I have to wait a minute. I mean, the row house district here predates the highway, so realistically these roads actually continue, and then they've been cut short by the highway, they've been demolished. And if this is proper, you know, realistic US city planning, then at least a small part of the reasoning for creating a highway here was that you get to demolish a low-income improvised area here full of minorities, which is just fantastic policy, by the way. So the roads here, they continue, and then they just end abruptly. And in the old days, so to speak, this old historical neighborhood would continue here, maybe on this segment here, but of course we could, you know, the planners got to demolish a little more so that we could redevelop this into a job center instead. Anyways, I think we've got much of the initial layout done now. And then I got an idea over here for kind of breaking up this grid as well, slightly at least. So if we move out here, and let's just see, what was my idea again? Oh yeah, right. Complete brain fart here. Just gonna move out in a regular grid and move up here. Once again, regular grid style, but then we're gonna go at 75 degrees from each of these roads here, if the game will allow me. But I guess without snapping, I can do as I please. Come on, thank you. And of course, we'll just be removing these. Remove this little segment here, and once again I am going to upgrade. That's not gonna work for one reason or the other. So the other trick we can use here is using the path here and just kind of going through the entire thing here, making sure that zoning will actually just align itself on the angled roads here, like this. Yes. So this is the crude way of doing it, but I guess it works. And if we just do this, then we get a segment here. So this is gonna create a bit of variety at least, and maybe we'll add in some surfaces here to make it look all the more nice. And I think I'm just gonna get into some zoning real quick just to let this develop, and then we can, we can adjust it as we move forward. But for starters, a bit of zoning, get an idea of how this area is gonna look, and I'm gonna try to, we're gonna try and switch up the zoning a bit. And I kind of want to have like a few paths going here. So we'll have, let's just see, we can just map that out now actually. We'll have a path cut through this area here, and I'll be adding the crossing, I think. And we'll have a path cut through here as well. Maybe just cut straight through actually. And then we'll zone accordingly. Get all this zoned up. Get all this zoned up. And then here I think I'm just gonna zone normally, just gonna let the whole thing grow. And the same thing over here. And I'm hopeful that when I remove these paths I gain like an extra zoning tile, but yeah, I do. Perfect. And on the other side I do as well. Okay. So this, I should have let that grow a bit more. We'll see if we can, we can fix this. We can fix this. Finicky to work with, but I guess this is just how it is. So I find that when buildings actually start developing or being constructed, then we should be able to remove these. Yeah, and then we can add another zone. And low density commercial here alongside Summit Street, North American, going to try and zone some large lots. Hopefully they will develop as they're zoned. 5x5, get another 4x5 and 3x3, that's perfect. Got a bit of space over here as well, we're just gonna use that. And hopefully the commercial establishments that actually develop here will have some surface parking on their own, so that I don't need to manually place a few. But otherwise I will, just to get that surface parking in there. Now, as you can probably see, I've got some actual corner lots growing here in the row house theme. This is a mod I'm using to allow for these. They, as far as I know, cause no issues, so I'm gonna let them grow. But instead of trying to figure out the zoning so that we can actually get 2 row houses in here as well, I'm honestly just gonna grab, find it, and just manually place them. That's going to be so much easier. So we're just gonna go for North American, gonna grab some, let's see, what are we looking for? We're looking for some row houses and a depth of 2 and probably just some level, what stuff? This is some level 3. It's kind of in the middle of everything. Disable, I want to disable Anarchy so that I can get close, but I can actually see where I would end up removing some neighboring buildings, because then I actually know that I have placed it perfectly. It's the same thing here, get it as close as possible. And it seems like we've got space for a, something like this. And let's get one more going. There you go. Do I have any other places I need to kind of, yeah, there's actually 2 over here. That would make sense, so we'll just flip this around. And we'll just add this 1x2 here, and then maybe getting a bit more of an interesting 1x3 added in here. Yoink, there's a bit of space here, but I think that's just fine. And if we take a look, then it really does help just adding these manually. And I think, never want to spend too much time on one single area, because we are trying to build a big city here. But I think given that like 99% of the buildings are zoned, it's probably fine to invest a bit of time in just making some of these areas facing Pearl Street look nice as well. So that's why I think it's worth it. Here's some more interesting zoning from City Skylines 2. You think these zones are perfectly aligned 90 degrees to all the lanes surrounding it? You're wrong. I don't think this is gonna grow because of that, right? It's actually not aligned to this alley. I mean, in this case, it's almost impossible to actually see what's going on here. So I'm gonna have to move through and do this, and gonna have to cut the zone in two doing this as well. Slightly annoying. I guess by now I'm used to it, but this does seem like a bit of a downgrade compared to Cities 1, which is really not what we want, right? Let's go in and can we upgrade this and just move it as close as possible so we get a little more zoning to work with. I think that would be very nice. We can't hear, but okay. Great. Now it's gonna work. And I think we're gonna have a few empty lots here actually, because we are very, very close to the highway now, and we have to remember demolishing and kind of cutting this neighborhood up like this, it's gonna have devastating effects on the actual neighborhood. So this is gonna be the real unfortunate part. You know, everything south of Umber Lane is a bit more troubled than everything north of it, at least. So that's why I'm just moving through here, removing a few houses, and we'll have some empty lots with, you know, some trash and some bushes and stuff on this side of Umber Lane. And I can see we're really messing up the tram network, so I should probably get that fixed. Oh, let's see. Where do we have? Yeah, we've got to stop here, and then it doesn't really know what to do. So can I please just grab this and add a stop way out here like this, and then add a waypoint here. I'll add another waypoint here, and then we just have to figure out this segment here. And I need to create like a dedicated stop here, I think. Yeah, let's see if we can add that. Or do I actually need the stop to be on the one-way track to get this to work? I probably do actually. I can never remember this. Yeah, this is how we're doing it. Then we can have the stop here, and did I have a waypoint out here? I do, but I can remove that and just make sure that this is a stop it can actually work with. So this waypoint is no longer needed. Do we have there? We've got both stops in place, and that should work. I can never remember how you actually get like the trams to reverse, because when you make the one lane tram extension, it's gonna complain with this, you know, until you actually add the actual stop to it. And while we're letting this new district grow, I am going to make a slight change out here in Sterling, because like I said, we do have a cluster of heavy industry out here, but I mean, we don't have a lot of it left, and the reason we don't have that is that much of it has been pushed out due to like office jobs and some commercial stuff. So I think it makes more sense that the industry we actually have out here isn't really the super dirty polluting stuff with all these chimneys, but instead it's like, you know, light manufacturing processes, something that doesn't need like very easy access to the ship or to ports rather. I think you place your stuff out here in Northport instead. So anyways, what I'm gonna do is use the better Bulldozer mod. We're gonna grab this remove sub elements tool mode, and then I'm just gonna move through and get rid of these chimneys, because the actual assets, even when you remove the chimney, still looks cool. You know, they still kind of resemble dirty industry, but yeah, I don't know, I guess the smoke doesn't look all that great. It looks a little crazy out here. And we are gonna get rid of this as well, because this is like super dirty industry right near the motel, which doesn't really make all that much sense, I guess. But I kind of cleaned that up, and we've got a bit out here as well, which I'm going to remove. So once again, here's a small suggestion. If any developers are looking at this video, it would be super nice to be able to split the industrial zone, so that if you want to zone some industry that is more warehouse and light manufacturing based without all these chimneys and some of this really heavy, dirty industry look, it would be really cool to have like a separate subzone where you could just do that. Yeah, I've suggested that before, but I think this really helps with the aesthetics. It becomes a little crazy with all the smoke and stuff. I'll also be adding an additional building out here in Sterling because I've noticed that some of my road maintenance crews are getting kind of busy, and I have a few segments of highly trafficked areas that are starting to have deteriorating road conditions, and I really don't want that, because as soon as you have traffic accidents, it just completely wrecks the traffic flow of the city. So we're gonna grab the road maintenance depot, and we've got a pretty decent location, I feel, out here in Sterling. So I'm just gonna move it back one zoning tile and just get that placed. And do I need to upgrade? I probably don't, so we're gonna go on without it. Just get rid of some of these trees though. We're actually seeing a few high rental complaints out here, so improvise, adapt, overcome, all that good stuff. Why not build some low-rent public housing projects then? Yay! Get rid of these nice single-family homes, build some public housing. I think it's fitting for the overall theme of this area though. That saw some rapid growth in the past many decades. We're gonna place this by hand for maximum control. So let's see, residential, is it high density? It probably is. We're gonna say low. Is it actually medium density? No, wait, it's because it doesn't have a specific theme. There we go. Now we've got our low rent, sorry. We've got our low rent stuff ready here. Let's see what we can find. Something that's not too bulky. I've already got, so this sort of looks like student housing. Then we've got some public housing here, so I don't want to use those assets. I want to use something else, maybe these that actually have some parking lots attached. I think, yeah, they're probably just a little too deep. I want some that have some parking lots. These ones are perfect, because then I can kind of add them, kind of twist them a bit just to make the whole area look a little more unique. Then we'll come in with the surface painter, make it look even better. We'll map out a few paths in between. Can I squeeze one more in? No, but I guess that's actually fine. Looks pretty good as is, but just moving in with surface painter, or surface painter is not what it's called. Moving in with whatever this is called, I don't remember, so that I can just adjust these and make it look a little more seamless with the actual road. Is always a nice touch, and it doesn't take a long time. It's really easy detailing to do. And then while we're already working with the surface painter tool, we might as well just add in a few, let's see, we'll get a tile surface going, snap onto this, so that we can just create a few small pathways throughout this area. Just some simple stuff. All right, let's take a look at our new little district here. I noticed that the high rent issues persisted, so I just kind of expanded this low rent public housing project so that it also moves down this lane here. Added a bunch of trees, a few paths as well, just to kind of create a bit of greenery next to them. And I mean, the detailing here is very simple, but just by using some surfaces and adding in those invisible pedestrian paths, you make your areas just stand out a bit from the regular path usage, which I did use for this park. And it's only half a park, the other half is a strip mall. Very fancy. But I guess the general theme was just to keep the detailing somewhat low and just try to get as much out of the low amount of detailing as possible. So I did kind of follow the same station scheme we've got going on in other parts of the metro area here, which I think makes pretty good sense. And we're actually seeing some pretty decent usage of this tram stop here. And yeah, a bit of uninspiring landscaping over here, I guess. But yeah, I think as we zoom out, especially, the area does look pretty realistic. There's a good mix of different types of developments here, which is pretty characteristic for Riverview. We've got some density layers mixed up in between. You know, some parts of the city has grown really rapidly and others have deteriorated slightly. Did add a bit of trash and stuff in here, some bushes to just kind of showcase that when you're this close to the highway, property prices aren't as high, but apparently just standing here having a spending free time going to school. I mean, yeah, Doris might have told her parents she's going to school, but and Dexter, I mean, he could be a car spotter, I guess, in theory, but just another oddity, I guess. Anyways, I think it's safe to say we'll not build a massive clean coal power plant in this episode, so that's gonna have to be for the future. But something I do want to add here is actually add a lake over here. Generally, I want to add more lakes to Riverview, especially when we start revamping this boring mountain here to make it a little more interesting, like the mountains over here. We're just gonna add some more lakes, some more interesting natural features. So let's just move in and wrap up this episode by adding in a little lake, and I suppose I just need to figure out how much space I actually need. Maybe the development is actually going to stop around here. We'll just get these fillers out of the way. Goodbye. And then the corner here is gonna be the furthest extent of this suburban development. And alright, first step is of course to shift the terrain to just generally lower it a bit. I'm just gonna see how flat it is. And it's not very flat at all, so we're just gonna move over here, and then I'm gonna grab a contour line, which I think would be fitting, maybe this one here. And then we're just gonna map out the general shape of the lake at first, just with its rough outline, something like this. And of course, let's just move in, get rid of all the trees. We're gonna add plenty of trees and bushes when we're done actually filling in the lake. And then I'm gonna use a smaller brush to just smoothen the edges of the lake ever so slightly. And we might even go for like a small, tiny island in here. We could even place like a small barn structure or something in here. Maybe let's see how this actually works out. Water tool, and we're gonna go for a lake, constant water level. Radius of 5 is maybe a bit too small. I'm guessing a 7 is what we want. And then let's just check the elevation here. So this is the lowest bank, I think. I think so. This is at 589, and here we are at 592, 95, 90 around here. So 589 is what we need to aim for a lower level from. So if we just go down by 3 meters, then I'm hopeful that's gonna be okay. But the water tool is very, very finicky, so I'm just gonna place this and then we'll see how it actually pans out. And of course, the little trick, if you want to speed it up, you open the developer mode, go into simulation, go down to water, and then you can increase the water sim speed. Now this is gonna be really taxing for your computer while you have it on max, but the results are pretty clear. And oh boy, yeah, the results are telling me this water level was just too high. So we're gonna have to redo that. So I'm going to try and remove this water source, and we'll actually decrease the radius to 5 meters. So we are gonna try maybe, I think 5 is the lowest we can go. Maybe try and place it over here, and then we're gonna give it another spin. Third time's the charm. And I'm sure you guys are gonna believe me when I say that this is the third time. I mean, it is. So let's just get this one fixed. And I'm just gonna try to place a barn. The buildings is they're probably way too big, the buildings, but it would just be funny to have something out here at least. Oh, it's too big. That's unfortunate. Maybe we just have some kind of a shed then. That is a cozy little cabin, if you ask me. Alright, we'll just add a few bushes around the place. And then I'll add some rocks and other stuff as well. I'm just gonna spend a little more time smoothing out the edges over here though. They are a little rough. And then we're probably gonna need some pathways to kind of move through the entire lake here. But I think I'm gonna do it the hard way and do a bit of detailing. So we've got the river bed here, which we can actually use to create a path, but this is gonna take some time, so just bear with me. And look at that. That turned out pretty well, I feel. We should probably add some retaining walls, or sorry, some sound barriers instead to the stretch of the I-25. Otherwise, it's not gonna be a very tranquil walk. And then we're gonna move in with the invisible pedestrian path, and I'm just gonna try and map out a path that follows this dirt track we've created the best way I can. Something like this, and then we'll just be adding some trees and stuff to this. And I think we're gonna do the same we've done before, where we actually grab a tree. Might even be, yeah, this apple tree is a good suit. Then we set the maximum size and we lower it by, well, in the case of the apple tree, I guess it's only about 4 meters, because then we got like a big bush we can use. That looks a little better than the regular bushes in the game, actually. And we can kind of flank the shoreline here with these bushes here. And I think we'll finish off this simple build with a few spruces in small clusters, mainly just to kind of flank off the highway a bit more. And then if we're really being fancy, we can grab some of these small stones and add to the mix as well. Maybe I should just search for stone. Oh, it's rock. Rock random. And then we'll just be adding these near the shoreline at first. So that's without Anarchy on. Just to get a layer on the ground and out here on the little island, and then we're just gonna enable Anarchy and add a few more so that the seabed also has visible rocks. They're pretty small, so they're hard to see. It's really a case of moving in close to see that level of detailing, but it does look pretty good. And this is very cozy. The location, but I guess having access to this is better than nothing if you are to live this close to an interstate. So yeah, and I think that's a wrap for the episode. So if you've got a suggestion for what we're to call this district when we start breaking up East Riverview into separate districts, then I would be very interested in hearing some suggestions. It is quite a historic row house district, some slightly rough parts, some public housing, some commercial strip malls, but I think it's also an area that's probably undergoing gentrification currently. It is served by a tram line. It does have access to the lake, even though, I mean, it's kind of flanked by highways, but it's an up and coming area, I feel. So yeah, if you've got any suggestions, I'd be very open to hear them. I'm gonna finish up with some cinematics. Hopefully the lower resolution I have to play with isn't gonna be too visible during those, but you may be able to see a slight drop in quality. Otherwise, I just wanna thank you guys so much for all the feedback, all the support and nice comments. It's I know I've said this before, but it is kind of overwhelming to just open up a video and see all the nice comments and all the likes and all that stuff. Yeah, makes me feel all fuzzy inside. I hope to see you all in the next one. Goodbye.